Hello. Let me just get this massive tree out of the way. There we are. Hello, Esk8 James. Hey. A very good end of the year show. Welcome to you.
Aye, end of an era. Another year gone, another year to come.
Another year gone, another year to come. Another couple of brands gone as well, eh?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, just at the last minute, we've these are bonus ones, by the way, for those watching. Bird, who technically own the Boosted Board brand, they've apparently gone bankrupt. And the Elvan boards have, the website has shut down, and they haven't done anything on Facebook since September. So yeah, we've lost another 2 brands at the last minute, which is a shame.
It is, but the rest of our top 50 are going to be upbeat and positive, I think.
That is true. That is true.
I
think Suki's showing us sort of like a reverse URL thing where you can like find a website that's shut down by reverse.
Oh yeah, this is Wayback Machine, isn't it? Where you can rebuild things that have been taken down. So I mean, Eovan made some decent boards, I think, in their time, but then towards the end there was lots of shoddiness. I'm sure Scott Davies warned people off them for the last few months. He gave the kind of the heads up that always not well.
No, it's a shame because they were moving into gear driven boards as well, and that seems to be one of the big trends this year.
It does indeed. So you've got your top 50 to do. So we're going to have to be super efficient. I want you to take a deep breath and do all 50.
All right, so to start us off on the Esk8 News top 50 moments of 2023, single kingpin truck options became more common over double kingpin trucks, Onsra, Meepo, M boards. I mean, double kingpin trucks have their place, but when you get into those 37, 40 mile per hour speeds, probably want to go back to single kingpin trucks, as we have started to see, especially conversion truck systems for existing double kingpin truck base plates, which I think is great. That's one of the main reasons I don't go for certain models. What do you think of that?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I genuinely have never ridden a double kingpin truck, and part of me just thinks, because of the worry I think about the stability. I've never had a problem getting enough carve on a single kingpin. I'm interested in the fact that Propel with their GT, their Pivot GT and stuff, bucked that trend and went with a double kingpin. So I was quite surprised at that, but it looks like, so I think the thing is, if you get one that's well set up, it can be fine. But I think if you fiddle with it, and that's part of the danger, is I think if you fiddle with it and you get it wrong, it could all go a bit.
That's true. And M-Boards, they had this bit of a conversation on one of their podcasts, and they mentioned how the next trend seems to be wider trucks for sort of that next level of stability. Like you say, longer wheelbase, wider trucks. Number 2, the Float Life showcases groundbreaking findings, adapting a Hoyt Esk8 remote to control the tilting angle of a VESC-based one wheel. So yeah, the prophecy was fulfilled, a remote-controlled one wheel. The idea of using the remote to control the angle of the one wheel, the gyroscope, is just incredible. And VESC wheels were all the rage this year.
Yes. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because one wheels without the remote, it's a cool idea, but the reliability of them has been questionable, shall we say? So I think something that can give you that reliability, because obviously when these things do go wrong, it's a bit spectacular.
Ghosting, they call that technical term.
Yeah. So it's I think it's always good if somebody can improve on an original, not just twiddle with it, but actually make it significantly better. It's got to be worth a go, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
What about yourself?
All right, number 3, the first of electric Esk8 electric quad and inline skate companies appear. Things like Atmos Gear, Esend, Airtrick, Wheelfeet. They are, you know, they've gone back to the really strange company names that we got when electric skateboards first started coming out, and it seems to be the new trend, which I predicted. And
You did
why
predict.
shouldn't they have brakes on skates? Why shouldn't they have motors for those electric roller skates? I mean, people have done DIY jobs for years. It's only now they started to use e-skate remotes, and you want me to shut up about skates on an e-skate show?
No, well, but I guess it's one of these things, isn't it? It's probably the ultimate in terms of portability, isn't it? Because the smallest form size that you could possibly get. So it's just the practicalities of it, and it feels like they're still lagging some way. And you've hinted at this in terms of the sophistication, the lack, you know.
Well, I mean, it's like you say, you know, these fundamental
things
designs. These fundamental designs. Where are the kingpin trucks for the quad skates? And where is the wheel lock function when you don't have a foot stopper or a toe stopper, as they call them in quad skates? And it's just those little things where you're thinking, how can they get it wrong? But then we've never had electric roller skate companies, apart from those really, really nasty 5 miles per hour ones from Razor.
It's still generation 1. Next Christmas will be a good bit further ahead. You should be a consultant for one of those firms.
That's the funny thing, like, you know, although I was like raised on Sonic the Hedgehog and all that kind of stuff, I don't really know how to skate. I just saw a pair that was going cheap and bought it and realized this ain't as good as I expected. But
I know, and I feel partially responsible because I drew your attention to the fact that there was a cheap pair going, and you were like,
"Yeah, it's all your fault. I wasted my money.
It's all my fault." Yep.
But now I know. I feel like a more informed rider. Okay. Number 4, gear drives become increasingly popular and common. Eovan, rest in peace. Azdec, Lorenz, Meepo, Omni E-Skate, Bioboards. Gear drives, it seems so obvious.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I've never really had a massive problem with belt drives in terms of reliability and stuff like that, but I suppose gear drives just take any of the delay or any of the sag out, and it's pesky blinders. There we go. Hiya, Craig, as well. Yeah, no, I know I feel so underdressed. I don't even have, you know, a shiny thing. I feel like I should have a cravat or something. Anyway, to try and
You've got a tree. That's good enough.
But yeah, so I mean, I think the gear drives, again, they're kind of early in their development, aren't they? There's to some people metal gear drives, some sort of like plastic gear drives. So there's the questions about the best, because you've got like helical ones and straight cut ones and stuff. So I think it'll be interesting. I think probably, again, it's still quite a young market. Another year, and it'll be interesting to see what people settle on as the model, the mode of choice.
Absolutely, and I'm curious to see what kind of price drops we will see, because we expected direct drives to come down in price. That didn't happen, and the planetary geared hubs are probably the most related to gear drives, because it's like sprockets, but plastic sprockets, nylon sprockets, CNC'd ones. For me, it's like we've got the most powerful motors with belt drives, but how strong can you make those belts? Whereas if you're talking sprockets on sprockets, it's a bit stronger. You could lose a few teeth, but it can still keep going. Whereas with a belt, you lose the belt, you lose your wheel, and you lose your brakes. But helical, they're meant to be much quieter, which solves the inherent noise issues. So they're kind of like a middle ground, which is good to see for the respectful rider.
Yes, no, that's good, and it's interesting that as they get better with the sealing, and I've seen a few posts with like how much grease do you pack them? Do you run them dry? I guess like Tom's saying, if you get muck in there, it can mash them up. But again, there are some companies running them off road with absolutely no issues at all. So it's just there's a lot of people getting into it, so I think that competition is going to generate, some stuff that people can be confident in.
Okay, so I realise we're on to the fifth item now, and we're 10 minutes in. We're going to have to really pick up the pace here, otherwise
Come
we'll
on
be
then.
here for
Yes.
hours. Okay, so one of the trends this year is that the speed of Esk8 increases yet again from 32 to 37 miles per hour, becoming easily achievable. Scary, that, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's 37 doesn't feel the same as it does on a motorbike.
Yeah, I mean, to first-time riders, 24 miles an hour on a skateboard is fast. At 37 on top of that, it's like, wow. It's surprising we haven't seen more injuries, really.
Well, I think that there's been a few, hasn't there? It's just that, again, it's like the importance of having it all really dialed in and being confident.
Aye. Number 6, Esk8 introduced various models, becomes more established with the Nomad N1, Aries X1, Gear Drive, Stella S3, Stella Mini, Aries X3. And I mean, Esk8, they were new on the scene last year, weren't they?
They're definitely a company that's absolutely come out of the blocks with, I mean, they haven't really seemed to have made any major missteps at all. They've come up with some really good designs, really well spec'd boards, and any things that people have had niggles with, the customer service seems to have dealt with them really effectively. All the good things we like to see.
Absolutely. Number 7, Esk8 / Grief documentary 828 is released, and I think it's very important people know about that one, and it receives all the awards.
It's an absolutely cracking, beautifully shot, isn't it? And thoughtful and insightful, and it doesn't glamorize the stuff. It talks about the mental health. You can feel the grit. You can feel how painful it was to make and stuff like that, and yet what a sense of hope it kind of gave. I mean, I think, absolutely.
I second that, and it's not very often we have documentaries about electric skateboards, but to mix that about a story of grief and loss, I think was something very special indeed.
Yep, so check it out on YouTube if you can, or it's on other platforms also.
Yeah. Number 8, an endless number of new models are released. This is the part where I have to take a really, really big, deep breath.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of electric skateboarders here. Meepo V5, Mini V5, NLS 3 NV, Super V3S, Atom Mini 3S, Super 2 V3S ER, Hurricane Ultra X, Hurricane Vader Carbon Flow Aurora. That was just Meepo. Eoven GTO Silo UIOFO, Onboard Bamboo Zeus Pro, Wowgo Pioneer X4, AT2 Plus 3E, Mini 2S, Max 5 series, Hoyt, Saint Taba, Backfire, Zella S2, Zella X Mini /V, G5S, G5, Era 3, S2E, Vesta, Osprey Carbon, V3 Cruise, V3 Turbo, Board Up, Bolt Plus V4, Lorenz, V1 Major, V2 Major, Evolve, Hadian Mainframe loaded on a Reek, Renegade, Propel S, Propel GT, Endeavour 2 GT. By the way, I'm halfway down the list. AE boards, Vortex, Viril Ace, F1 Max, X-Way Ripple, Tiny Mini 3, Stinger, Mini 3 SL, Wraith, Rocket Bamboo, Waterborne, Jetboard, One Wheel GTS, OWM boards, Carvely, Basecamp Ghost, M boards, Interstellar 2.0, Icing Wheel V8, Defiant Board Society, Defiant 1, Onsra Challenger Pro, 45 amp ESC revision, Black Carve 3 Pro. Yeah, a lot of boards this year. I wasn't quite sure.
And the Mini 3 Pro. Don't forget the Mini 3 Pro, Tiny, because that's the one I got.
Oh, of course, yeah. There's just that was quite a sizzle reel, wasn't it? I wasn't quite sure
That
how
was
to do
quite.
that.
That was quite a sizzle. I've got to say a big thanks for all of that. And I guess that's one of the questions that makes me ask is, is the market saturated? You know what I mean? Can it sustain that level of new boards? What do you reckon?
I would say, how many boards does a company need to bring out in a year? I think that's a really good question. Obviously, from a sustainability point, like, can you sell this many boards of different models? Do you specialize in, like I said, I think Meepo brought out something like maybe 4 or 5 different models in 1 week. I was like, what? And they were all kind of the same thing, just different decks and the same enclosure. So I thought, what's the difference here? How would you tell? So yeah, did I miss any comments when I was doing that?
There was just Tom was just asking what the documentary was, and it's 828. It has been out for a wee while now, so you've maybe seen it as 828 going round Iceland, but it's more than that. It's much more than that. It's kind of.
I should also mention there's a full document of this on the Esk8 News Facebook page, so you can go through this list as I'm reading it out if you just want to skip over what I have to say. All right, then, moving on. Number 9, Cloud Wheel releases Hydro wheels, Rovers 110R and Galaxy Pro wheels. Challenges previous safety perceptions as they slide in the rain. Wheels.
Yes, so I've got a set of the Hydros on my Tiny Mini 3 Pro because that's what they come with. I genuinely, the weather's been so shocking that I haven't really given them much of it. I mean, they've got a bit of vibration damping, but not massive. They're not. I don't think they're as absorbent as cloud wheels, even the standard cloud wheels. But in terms of the grip, like I say, it's been so wet and cold, I couldn't honestly tell you. But I think because of their size, that there'll be a decent all-round wheel for when you're not needing pneumatics. I guess a lot more to them than urethane. But anyway, so yes.
It seems like there's a bit of confusion over the Rovers or the Galaxy Pros. People would say that the rubber compound on those Rovers is probably better in the wet, but from what I can see, they have a slight concave shape, whereas these Galaxy Pro ones that just came out, they have a flat concave like a street wheel, so maybe less chance of sliding out compared to a concave shape. That's my theory, at least. I mean, they say that these new Galaxy Pro ones are 72A, so hopefully much softer than those Rovers, which is what people have said. They're just a bit more harder.
Alrighty. Once we've had a chance to give them a good going over, we'll give our feedback.
I think I'm definitely going to invest in a pair of those. But back to the list. Number 10, Esk8 related documentary from Patrick Phillips, Electric Pioneers, is released. This was another little documentary that is good to see about electric skateboards and raises the profile of it in a really good way. I think it's been in a few competitions as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, well, we're going to get him on to talk about it. If we never have, we'll need to get the finger out and reach out to him in the new year. That's it. That's a New Year's resolution.
Yeah. And number 11, Cali boards sadly goes boosted. They lost a big brand there, quite a known one that. They were one of the original sort of racing class electric skateboards, and I guess there's only so much one person can do, really.
Isn't it? It's that thing, isn't it? It's about how specialised it is and whether or not it's staying ahead of the curve, because the technology to try and stay. But there was I guess there was more to it than that. It was that particular. It was the fires really that did it, wasn't it?
Goes with the territory, pushing the limits of what these batteries, these boards, these ESCs can do. The amount of amps that they pull out those race grade boards.
Indeed.
Number 12, Lacroix boards expands into electric hoists and harpoon lifts. which was a bit unexpected for an electric skateboard company, to say the least, although apparently it was to benefit snowboarders, so to each their own. What did you think of that story?
Well, again, I must admit, I did worry at the time. I thought it looked interesting stuff, but I did think, ooh, are they spreading themselves a bit thin? And it proved, sadly, to be the case. There's this,
That is true.
it's this thing about diversification. Sometimes can be a good thing, but you're spreading your resources pretty thin.
And
I don't know.
should mention, I'm going through this list through the year, so we will eventually get to what happened to Le Quay.
Yes, I know. Oh, spoiler alert! Sorry.
That's okay. But yeah, no. But I think for people that wanted something like this, that's probably a huge innovation for the snowboarders scene and all the skiers. Okay. And then number 13, X-Way 165 by 75 millimeter pneumatic Venerator tires are released. This was, I guess, their attempt at racing grade street wheels. So pneumatics and very, very sports tire looking. So
yeah,
those.
I haven't seen any actual reviews of them. Have you?
Not really. Although new wheels is always welcome, and I'm sure people that do race events, they probably appreciate any new wheels. Because where's our Kevlar tires? Schwalbe. Just saying.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want something that's puncture proof, but still gives good reviews on Mars. What, on the Mars rover?
Not sure about that. But okay, number 14, electric skateboards recognise the disability aid devices in Australia, which I was really happy to see this article. There's this kind of idea that you need to have a mobility scooter, but you could have an e-scooter. Some people even use electric skateboards and electric unicycles, but to have it recognised as a mobility device, I thought that was just brilliant, and hopefully we'll see that elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely, because electric skateboards are not only transport, but they're fun. And I think one of the things, working with people who are disabled most of the time, that's my job, kind of, I'm constantly horrified at the language and the way that things are marketed. It's not, it doesn't make you feel good about yourself.
No,
Invacare is one of the companies. Imagine if Invalid Care, Invacare, I mean, where's the sexy name brands for stuff? Where's folk making it?
Even the name itself, invalid, not valid.
It's just awful. Yes. So bring on the sexy ways to travel.
Absolutely. Number 15, the first ever cargo e-scooter design appears from EV4. Cargo e-scooters, didn't expect that. Very Meccano-esque design, which I quite liked the look of. What do you think of that? People transporting goods via scooter?
Well, I think if you're going to have a last mile sort of solution, then the ability to safely carry like a bit of shopping or something home rather than dangle it off the end of the handlebars or wear it in a backpack, it's not a bad thing, is it?
No, I mean, I've seen some really random videos where like somebody put a washing machine on a scooter and they're like sat on it and they're leaning, and then you've got like a guy with a vest with all these hooks and all his shopping bags, and you're thinking there's got to be a better way of doing that. We'll still be here when you get back.
That's it. You see, I'm such a bad influence.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on from that, we have number 16. X-Way introduces a powerful 4,600 lumens torch and remote cradle design with Ace Beam. That was quite a gadget for me this year. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I must admit that my initial thought was, I don't necessarily want to have to try and point my remote where I want to go. So I much prefer a helmet-mounted light to see where I'm going. I do have lights on my board as well, but more for visibility. But I like to look where I'm, have the light go where I'm looking.
Makes
sense. I think so. Like having a torch or a camera on that, you've got to be much more aware of where your hand is. So it's an interesting development, but unless if it had a gimbal or something, so it was attached and it would just free rotate to a certain thing, you know what I mean?
Which that is funny, that's kind of what they're doing with X-Way's next remote. They have a sort of like clip system instead of this weird entire remote cradle. So moving on from that, we have number 17. Backfire Boards introduces new models: the Zealot S2 Plus, the Zealot X with the LED sidewall deck lighting. The innovation of the year for many people, myself included. The Tron boards have arrived.
Yeah, it's a good look, isn't it?
One day I will have this electric skateboard that lights up all the way around, like the prophecy said.
Yes, and you can just hold a little handlebar and it'll automatically just appear.
You've thought it all the way through. Today LED deck skateboards, tomorrow light cycles.
Indeed.
All right. Number 18, Esk8.shop becomes an online UK supplier of spray-on lucid grip tape. So for those who aren't aware, there's a clear spray-on grip tape. They even do a glow-in-the-dark one. Usually it's a product you can only buy in the US, so you're talking an extra £30 delivery. So it's nice to see a UK supplier of this, and for those that want clear grip tape, that's good to see. You ever tried clear grip tape?
I've never tried clear grip tape, especially if you've got a nice wooden deck, though. It's quite a nice idea, or a nice carbon deck, I guess. But and I guess I'm always interested in seeing UK shops generally and hoping that they'll do well, because buying stuff from abroad, it's much better if you can get an importer that's going to take a chunk of stuff in, and then it's going to be delivered more quickly. You've got the returns, the warranty covered, that sort of stuff.
I mean, even if you're going to any standard skateboard shop, they're often very apprehensive against anything electric skateboard related. So having a shop that does these kind of things with other skateboard parts, I think it's really good what Tim's done with it.
Good to see.
Well, jury's out on that one. Apparently they use the older hub motors where the magnets are on the inside of the wheel sleeve. So yeah, but they don't ship to the UK. They're very stubborn about doing that. But it looks cool with the lights in the enclosure. Not as cool as the Backfire one though. Moving on from that, number 19, new premium electric skateboard company appears called Lorenz Boards, and they're so premium they had to revise it twice in 1 year.
So premium, but yes, I mean the Lorenz Major, it generally was very well received, wasn't it?
For those who aren't aware, Lorenz, they're the one with the kind of arc reactor heart monitor thing in the middle of the deck, so it shows you your battery life, the throttle, all these really cool light displays, which is very techy for people who love Iron Man and all that stuff. Yeah,
good. A good setup, and here's Tom. Yeah, and I guess the sort of design of the deck and stuff is something that you either like or don't like. About that sort of like curved deck. I've never actually ridden a board that's got that kind of design. I guess I think it was Fred Christopher. I saw him doing a review of it and saying it was a nice board, but he's not particularly a fan of that.
Yeah,
that kind of curve, and I'm not sure how I'd feel without riding it, so I don't.
And to answer Jan's comment, they also sell that foam grip tape stuff, Dope Grip, I think it's called, and I want to get that from them as well, because I need to give that a try. I've tried wheels, I've tried really soft riser blocks. It's the last thing to try really, and will it make a difference? I need to do some fact finding.
Good stuff.
Number 20, April Fool's Day post from X-Way with their hydrogen-fueled electric skateboard model. The standard for April Fool's jokes gets better each year, and I love this one that's so e-skate related. It's very, very high-quality concept art.
Yes, that was right up there with, there was an electric motorbike company that suggested they had add-on exhausts that would recreate the sound of a petrol engine, and people genuinely fell for that as well. They fell for it. They said, "Oh, that's brilliant. Where can I buy it?" And it was like, "No, it's an electric bike. It doesn't need an exhaust."
And ironically, there is actually a similar product for bicycles, which is like a fake exhaust. And there is even sound modules for electric motorcycles to make them do various rumbles. I'm waiting on the kind of pod racer sound from Star Wars. Maybe I'll get one of those one day.
So the dope grip, I guess some of that is about, I suppose, is it still grippy and how quickly does it deteriorate? I guess.
I mean, it's a good thing. Like, got to be careful what you get wet on these skateboards.
Yes, indeed.
Moving on from that, 21, Team G enters the e-scooter industry with their new G3 model. What do you remember of this one?
The G3 scooter. To be honest, I don't pay as much attention to all the scooter stories. So go and tell me what's different about the G3.
Yeah, that's good to know, Jan. Well, basically, they made what on the surface looks like a really decent scooter, front and rear suspension, etc. But in terms of its hill climbability, not so good. So it looks great, but can it perform on hills? Not really. But it's one of those situations where electric skateboard company tries scooters, and I like to follow those stories just in case we end up with a boosted rev situation again.
Yeah, no, it's always worth keeping an eye on things.
Absolutely. 22, fully independent suspension truck and adjustable half-binding carry handle from Shockboard System appears. This one was one of the quite popular innovations this year. What do you have to say about
that? I liked the design of the truck. I thought looked quite interesting because unlike the other one that you posted where it was just like four springs all just going boing boing, which I just thought that looks like a nightmare. The fact that this twisted, so it looked like it would have some more structural integrity and be retrofittable to a lot of different boards. The handle, I thought the handle bit was okay, but I wasn't sure about the shape of it when you used it as a binding because I wasn't sure about how comfy it would be compared to like a Tomboy one or your standard sort of Trampa style, one. What about yourself?
No, I agree. One thing that I spotted that was a bit different is they have single and double kingpin truck options for this, and they claim it will also fit the hub-driven Backfire X3 model. My question is, can it fit the MaxFind one? Because that's the ones I'm curious about because they have the faster 80 hub motors. So I'm thinking maybe there's in the future they'll do like a suspension system for these faster 80 hub motor models, but the adjustable bindings carry handle that I'd like to try. Bit expensive, but I would like to try.
Go.
23. For the first time ever, we now have Esk8 themed trading cards from M-Boards. And what an innovation that was. Trading cards of famous YouTubers. Whatever will they think of next?
I know. Yeah, I mean, that's that kind of the Esk8 Con had a lot to answer for, didn't it?
The thing is, like, you couldn't find the full list anywhere. So you were like, am I on this list? Who knows? I tried to get the original link and find it, but I can't find it now because the link's gone. So if there's a full list somewhere, post it online because I want to know who's on that list.
Who's on the list? Well, there's always next year.
Yeah, this is true. Who knows? Maybe I'll blink and Esk8 News will be on there one day. I've been at this for 3 years. They'll recognize me one day.
That's it. It's like the Oscars for.
Exactly.
I'd like to thank everybody.
I mean, you've made it when you're on a trading card for electric skateboard.
Absolutely. All right, Craig. I know Craig's made it, or Greg, as he's known.
This is true. The Craig, the one and only. It's kind of like top trumps, which I think is amazing. Trading card, they're collectible, so they will be valuable as the riders and the models are.
Yeah, indeed.
24. 3D printed wheel sleeves from Dr. E Skateboard. So this guy is trying to figure out how to do 3D wheels for the more recent hub motor designs, and I just think it's good to see that all these new adapters, like there's one where you can fit 80 wheels on these pneumatics, and we like new wheel options, especially for us that suffer with the hub motors.
Yes, so 3D printing as opposed to poking your eye out.
Yeah, and I've still got the scar from that, just there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, collectible things. I mean, even
Yeah.
boosted boards, you could consider those collectible. Maybe they'll be the iPods in the future. Number 25, X-Way Ripple.
Halfway through.
Yeah, 25, X-Way Ripple model is released. The strongest 75mm sized hub motors to date. I tried the Meepo Mini Dual ones, and they're supposedly half the strength of these, and I weren't that impressed. They were better than the really cheap ones, but not good enough. So I'm getting one of these hopefully eventually.
Now, you see, this is what I like to hear. I like to hear that you're moving on from the bum basic models, which is just more of the same, and something that's going to blow your socks off, and you're going to go, yes, this is an improvement.
Well, these are trading
collecting
cards.
things.
But what I was going to say, they're really small hub motors. So in theory, they might be better on like pump tracks and skate parks. Whereas most of our wheels, 90mm wheels, they're still quite big compared to normal skateboard wheels. Bigger the wheel, more weight, basically.
Yes, indeed. I don't know anybody talking about, from Jan's thing about. I don't know anybody who keeps a new and unboxed, skateboard, because it would run out of charge for a start. So it would be of limited use.
Okay, number 26. Max Fine celebrates 8 years in the e-skate industry. X-Way celebrates their 7th anniversary too. It's good to see that. Like we say, we're losing a lot of companies. We're losing a lot of companies, so it's nice to recognise the ones that are still going, because you never know when things could take a turn for the worst.
Yes, it's good to see. It's good to see ones that survive, and I guess it's that thing about making sure that you're still relevant, not just trading on the past.
I suppose they're more, like you say, sort of recognition cards. Like, we really like this model, we really like this company, we really like this YouTuber, and it's their way of making something that's collectible, but also kind of fun. Just why not, really? Why not?
It's just a bit of silliness, I think.
A bit of silliness. I mean, we've done stranger things in this space.
Indeed.
I mean, you see my skateboards. Weird things. Sport on kicktails. Who does that? Okay. And then we have number 27. Trackpod finally launched their Kickstarter campaign for a 28 to 40-inch folding electric skateboard design. Fails, and thus the saga ends. Do you remember the trackboard?
Yes, I mean, I guess folding was a good idea in terms of portability, but I think if you get a mini board, really, how much smaller do you need to go? Because, like I say, one of the things that I notice about like the tiny Mini 3 Pro that I've got, it's short in length, but because the wheels are pretty much, well, the front wheels are right at the nose. It's actually, like I said, I can actually have my feet wider than I can on my original deck, on my original skateboard. So I think it's, as long as it fits, you can strap it to a backpack. How small do you need it?
Yeah, I think what I found sad about this is they revised the hub motors, right? But they still kept the same tilting carver board thing to it. So, and it looked sort of like a very plasticky board, and you know how people are, they're like, if it looks like plastic and it's a cheap board, and we tend to lean towards carbon and bamboo stuff. But it was a shame because sometimes these Kickstarter campaigns, crowdfunding campaigns are successful, sometimes they aren't, but I suppose it just wasn't meant to be.
Indeed.
All right, so moving on from that, number 28. This is a one to follow, and hopefully for next year. Ireland teases upcoming legislation for both e-bikes and, surprisingly, e-scooters. And for those who are following, apparently they've never had e-bike rules, so they're going to get our 250 watt, 15 miles per hour limits, and more importantly, they're getting 500 watt, 15 miles per hour e-scooter limits. I was expecting lower motor limits, but e-scooters aren't pedal assisted, so I can understand it. Could have been worse. Could have been 12. Could have been 10 miles per hour.
Yeah. So that's an interesting, isn't it, Tom? I guess that's the thing, and but still we're still the outliers in terms of Esk8. We still don't really exist.
I mean, from my perspective, I trust their government more than our government to have progressive things with electric scooters and just electric vehicles and renewables in general. I am getting very political here. Stop me now.
Stop you now.
But yeah, I feel like there'll be a copycat policy in place because of them sorting this out when we've wasted our time in the UK for 8 years.
I'd prefer if we paid more attention to California, something a bit more progressive.
That is true. Okay, number 29. The first 6 electric quad and inline skate companies appear. This is me sort of making a list of the ones that were out there. So that one you can reference. The previous article was like electric skates and inline skates or a thing. So I've mentioned that twice, so we'll skip over that one.
Yep.
Number 30. VOOC and their Neo Retro e-trike Indiegogo campaign is fully funded. Electric trikes are coming soon, aren't they? And this one's very kind of Mad Max Neo Retro, which it's got a boot for the battery.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think I was most made aware of the bonkers trikes when I saw the videos of the Esk8 Con in Vegas and some of the guys doing their crazy tricks on them. Yeah, I've never seen one in Britain.
I do think it'll catch on. I mean, traditionally speaking, electric trikes and go-karts, they've always been the most expensive ones. But I think seeing these kind of crowdfunding campaigns, new companies, they've got the style for it, let's be honest. I think they'll have a lot of buyers.
Yeah, no, it's
style
interesting.
And then number 31, Revelboards reinstates UK shipping options, and X-Way introduces PayPal paying free payment options at last. I was very happy to see these because there's nothing worse than wanting to get a part and knowing they won't ship to your company. And like you said, with PayPal being able to spread the cost of something rather than what's it going to be, food or skateboards?
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like that thing about you want it to be affordable, and you want the kind of, in some ways, if you're buying it through something like PayPal, I guess you've got a bit more comeback.
Exactly, the buyer's guarantee kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to see. And as always, we like payment plans for these expensive things.
Indeed, yes.
And
don't get yourself into too much debt. If you can't afford it.
Exactly. Hence the zero finance offer, which I just think is better than most stuff you'll get from your bank. Back to number 32. Onsa released their new dual durometer 7276A 100mm Tarmax wheels. Have you seen these ones? What do you make of them?
I mean, I think it's interesting because, again, if I go make the connection to motorbike tires, they've been making dual durometer tires for a long time now. So harder in the center, softer on the edges for greater grip, so that they don't just power through and end up flattening off really quickly. So I think since the technology is there to combine things, because obviously the things that you worry about is if you combine one thing with another thing, if it's not well joined, it all starts splitting apart. But so I've not seen long-term tests on them, but certainly the idea of having something that's going to last, but also something that will grip in the corners is not a bad plan.
I mean, for me, I just love the fact these wheels are blue. I love blue wheels. I like how they've designed it almost like a bullet chamber with the holes to make it flex in on itself. I mean, we are used to dual durometer cloud wheels, foam on the inside, harder outer skateboard wheel. But the idea of it being a 50-50 design on the outer and the inner, that's very new. And like you say, this happens all the time in race wheels. So why not electric skateboard wheels?
Yeah, and you're right. They do look very nice.
Yeah, we love stylish things. We like blue. Moving on from that, number 33, Bluetooth and motion-activated shred lights appear. Mainly the 300 lumens and SL-FX models, although in the last few minutes of this year, they've now included the SL-1000s into the Bluetooth line. So yeah, progress.
And you've managed to fix the broken XL-FX as well.
That's true. Yeah. But I mean, it's a funny thing. Like, do we need motion activated lights from the second we step on that board? And it's like, is the technology necessary? I mean, the Bluetooth one makes sense, having them all connected to one phone. And if you've got multiple lights, that could be fun.
Well, but I've got. You probably not interrupt your flow, but keep talking. But I'll just motion things lights. I've got this one that fits onto my helmet, and this one's got like, you see.
Oh, okay.
So if you're going along and you don't need it, you're not fumbling about for a button.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. But I mean, I agree with what Jan says. I mean, I'd prefer more affordable lights than features I might not use. Hopefully, we'll see a price drop on the previous ones they made that weren't smart.
Yeah. There's not much wrong with a button, is there, really? And I guess Bluetooth means that it's going to drain the battery a little bit, because there'll be a little bit of power drain all the time.
34, Velocity Etch and their folding 80-wheeled ripstick edge model campaign is fully funded. This was one of the stranger crowdfunding campaigns this year. A ripstick style AT electric skateboard that can separate and be put in a backpack. Wow.
Yeah, it just looked like something that somebody would invent after a couple of beers. It's like the answer to a question nobody ever asked. I didn't get excited about it. I don't know. What did you think of it?
That being said, most ripsticks, they're two wheels. So maybe the four wheels adds that bit of stability that they never had previously. And maybe this is something that the ripstick community needs. And I think it's just utterly ridiculous, and I love it. You see, I could try this, but an original ripstick, no chance.
Well, if they send you one to try, let us know how you get on.
Yeah. Moving on from that, we have number 35. I basically confirmed that you can upgrade the ESC on a Yiku MTS to the WowGo 3, plus for Real's 4-amp charger on that model, and the Revel drive system. Because I've done a little bit of DIY stuff this year that no one else would attempt. Can this faster charger work? Can this ESC work? And I don't know. I don't see anyone else doing it, so I have to say, did it?
Yes, and sometimes it works. And sometimes it blows up after a wee while.
Exactly. And what surprises me is you could end up buying what is on face value a really meh board, and then you swap out the ESC for like £40, and that's it. It's a whole new board. It's a whole new beast, and that's what I've done with mine. So there might be loads of budget boards out there that need this kind of upgrade, and you never know. And sometimes these faster chargers are more compatible than people let on, and often you can't always get them sometimes.
I suppose it's the safety margins, and there's so many variables that I guess they want to play it safe a little bit.
Exactly. But like I said, I've done a bit of DIY stuff. It isn't too dangerous. Number 36, X-Way Boards randomly introduces an electric surfboard. The age of electric surfboards is upon us.
Have you seen the Audi one?
No, Audi have an electric surfboard.
Audi have an electric skateboard. Skateboard, no. No, electric surfboard. And it's bloody, you'll be not surprised, it's bloody loads of money. And the advert is very funky and Lacroix style, you know. But yeah, there's quite a few of these things that are quite, you're Googling it now, aren't you? You can't help yourself. He can't help himself. He's gone strangely quiet. He's looking off screen.
It's technically an e-foil, not an electric surfboard.
Well, it's right. Okay, it's an e-foil, yes.
But yeah, electric surfboards, they've become a bit of a thing this year. Some people are saying that the X-Way one is technically an AliExpress one, but just a different brand. But I suppose if you're going to buy one, you're probably more trusting of an electric skateboard brand than some random startup.
Yes, until you find yourself in the middle of the North Sea.
I don't know if the range is that good, but if it is, do tell. Then on to number 37. Waterborne Skateboards introduces their first ever hub-driven e-skate with surf skate trucks and also a ludicrous 60 miles per hour jet engine powered Model 2. Jet boards. I did not have that on my expected list this year. I mean, I knew electric skateboards were a thing, but who just puts a jet engine on one of these as well?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, when I saw it as a purchasable option rather than just like an Esk8 joke or like a little exercise, I thought, bloody hell, they're going to sell this to a member of the public, and it looked like a cross between a World War II aircraft and a.
On it, it looked like one of these flipping like army drones, and it's a skateboard with a jet engine. And
Thunderbirds meets electric skateboard.
Maybe there's a market for this, but whoever buys that, this person deserves an interview. Like, how could you convince your family you would spend this much on a jet powered skateboard?
That's another reason why we need to have breathalyzer. Breathalyzers on your mobile phones and that for when you make good purchases at 3 a.m. I thought this was a good idea.
Sarah. 38 skateboarding gloves appear with a hollow slide puck designed to fit around e-skate remotes from cavity boards. This was another unexpected development because really you can't hold a remote and use the slide pucks at the same time. They made like a hollow design that the remote goes between, which I thought was quite different. And I've yet to see any reviews of that, probably because people are a bit scared of breaking their remotes. But maybe there's someone out there who's willing to try those.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I guess wrist protectors and gloves with pucks. Both of them are quite bulky and they do get in the way. I've never used a traditional wrist protector with a remote because I just don't see how it would be comfortable. But I've got DNS wrist protectors, which are just ones. They don't have the bit to protect you here, but they just slide over the back of your hand to stop your hyperextending. So that works fine, but yeah.
And from one tangent to another, this one is another crowdfunding one. Kickstarter campaign 39. Kickstarter campaign emerges for a 44-inch surfboard-style deck with ripstick-like 90 by 40mm caster wheels, but with a spring-loaded mechanism, and the campaign is fully funded. I didn't expect someone to make a surfboard ripstick this year. And I compared the size between normal ripstick wheels and these ones, and they're bigger, but they're also like spring loaded. So technically you can get pop out of your calves with a ripstick. And like fully funded in, I think, maybe a day or two. And that, strange as it is, might be one to watch. We don't get innovations like this very often. The year of ripstick.
Well, we'll see. We'll see when they start. If they start making them, we'll see what they say.
I can see Andrew Penman wanting to try one of those. Okay, moving on from that, number 40, Like on board, unfortunately and sadly, officially go boosted. Anyone could see this coming with the lack of community support, the radio silence, the endless amounts of no posts and ignoring people, and just the anger that was building in their Facebook riders group. I had to leave it because it was getting that toxic. But yeah, they went boosted, and we lost what was a good brand at the time when they first started. I had mine for quite a few years, up until maybe a month or two when mine died. It's just a shame because I did love the board.
I think they had some decent rep back in the, a while ago. There was a lot of stock getting offloaded at silly money, wasn't there? And then people saying that their orders weren't turning up, and it was just all the signs were there. It just really sketch.
It almost became like a cautionary tale of how not to go bankrupt as an electric skateboard company. Don't ignore your customers. Answer questions. Be honest. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you see people getting shitty about it's been 2 days and I haven't heard a thing, and that part of me goes, for God's sake, man, put your phone down. It's been 2 days. Somebody hasn't told you they've shipped. Just go and check out the general vibe, the general stuff, because folk are on different time zones. There's so many deals with the the shipping and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But then the other side of it is, like you say, things go bust and folk go, oh my God, am I being ripped off?
Exactly, and for me, like, it seems like the standard waiting time for the UK is 20 to 40 days. I really don't worry until past that point. I just have to train myself to be more patient, as skateboarders aren't too patient.
Yes. No, as you know, I can beat that substantially. Remember, not this year, but
yeah, you had months waiting for your board, but in the end, it arrived.
In the end, it arrived. Yeah, and I didn't panic about it because I did trust the people involved. But there were a lot of people panicking by that stage.
It's true. Like the whole the community will tell other people how bad your company is if you really do treat your riders like rubbish, and usually the product can speak for itself, but customer service does even louder.
Yes, indeed.
Moving on from that, 41, LaQuire boards also goes boosted. So we lost LaQuire boards, sadly. We mentioned this earlier in the show, and like you said, the signs were there, premium priced, not many customers, and sometimes that's the way it goes when there's other significantly cheaper models out there that had similar.
Yeah, it's funny because they released a barrel which had some decent feedback, but then there was a few niggles later on about it. But it was very much more into mainstream territory compared to their previous boards.
Yeah.
So again, it's that thing about, you would have thought that making a more mainstream priced product would have secured them, but again, they were into lots of other stuff.
Was the hoist to blame?
Was it? I know. It's tricky to know.
Moving on from that, 42, one-wheel recall. A voluntary recall of all one-wheel electric skateboards and the haptic buzz update. That was an interesting time, wasn't it, Minty?
It was indeed. And I suppose it's that thing about there's been various stories over the years of safety-related concerns with certain products and companies. Yes. All one wheels, it was pretty much the lot, wasn't it? And
there's a link on the article on Esk8 News, so you can go straight to it on their website. But yeah, all one wheels.
And I guess that the thing is, again, we've touched on it earlier, the honesty. At what point did you know there's a problem? Did you do something about it, or did you just try and cover it up?
Yeah. I mean, what was weird is their new model, I think it's called the GTS. The S stands for safety. If you have to convince people your electric skateboard is safe by putting safety in the name, sketch. And what's weird is this haptic thing. As far as I'm aware, it's sort of like an ESC Wi-Fi update. So you're telling me they could have updated it at any time and solved this issue. So.
Yeah, you've got to wonder about the logic of some of this, and what people have learned from this in terms of, like I say, the honesty. I mean, if in car can see, when they've had big recalls, sometimes folk have tried to do it on the quiet to not upset people, but actually, what it does is it just destroys trust. You've got to get out there and yes, because you don't want random lockups.
So moving on from one-wheel failures to one-wheel successes, 43 Float Life introduced a new product for the one-wheel GT models called Float Blocks. And the idea is that instead of having the axle sort of sideways or sort of weaker, it rotates it so that the two holes map. They explain it better than I can, but essentially it makes the axle stronger, gives you extra wheel length, and you can also sort of adjust the height, I think, of the one wheel clearance, so that's good. And fixed what shouldn't have been an issue. Weaker axles, just rotate the axle, and there you go.
And again, I think the issue was not that one wheel was fiercely anything that was one wheel related. Was just they were not tolerating other people producing kit for it. So
yeah. So
innovation.
Like the little things that fix make things better, eh? Moving on from that, 43 design similarities between FlipSky's VX4 remote and the Digimon Digivice V1 Plus equal with their Beyblade RC launcher-like design. Basically, there were these two electric skateboard remotes that looked like something from pop culture. And I was like, hang on a second. And I've been saying this for like 6 years now. Eventually, there's going to be an electric skateboard remote design that looks like a Beyblade launcher and one that looks like a Digivice. And it happened. So, I'm quite happy there. So
when the two worlds collide, that's
exactly,
it.
Exactly. So pop culture prophecy fulfilled. We have Digivices and we have Beyblade launchers now as remotes.
We'll need to get your prophecies for next year.
This is true. Well, like I said, I think all these flipping electric roller skates will take off, electric go-karts, electric trikes. It's obvious, really. Moving on from that, 45. I finished 100 volumes of Esk8 News. So I've been doing this for about 2.5 years and hit that landmark. So all these news stories that people said weren't there are there now on this page. And
well done. Thank you for your contribution, sir.
Yeah, someone had to do it. Too much free time. Moving on from that, 46. Esk8 rider Casey Neistat becomes a clothing model with a boosted board. It's not very often we get modeling videos of electric skateboards. Yes, all one wheels. So yeah, how about that? Models with electric skateboards. I think that's cool.
Yes. Models, I know, isn't it? It's interesting, isn't it? Another indicator of more mainstream culture possibly around the corner.
I think what's even more interesting is they asked for his boosted board, so it just kind of shows you the pop culture icon that it was or is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know it's still got that draw after all these years.
Moving on from that, 47. 3D printed product appears on Etsy via 3D Factory epoxy to fit pneumatic AT wheel rims and wheels to hub motors. This was a nice innovation because for years and years there's been these 3D print designs floating around to fit pneumatic wheels on hub motors, and it's usually if you've got a 3D printer you can do it, but this is the first time you can actually pay someone to do it for you, which I'm a bit tempted to get, because it's not often you get to try pneumatic wheels on hub motors.
Yeah, no, that's true, isn't it? It's like that, but I suppose it's the issue of the range and that, but it's good to have the option.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that years and years ago there used to be these hubcap adapters from iWonder, which was the original name of cloud wheel, and they basically allowed you to fit standard cloud wheels before cloud wheel donuts existed. It's sort of like a Mad Max extension on the back wheel. It was weird, but it's like that essentially. So it's nice to see ideas come back around.
Yeah, and just following on from Jan's comment there, yeah, I mean, mainstream can ruin things, but it can also create the competition or the funding to, for innovation as well. I've never been one that does something because it's trendy. I got into snowboarding at the start, and I was quite horrified with how it was marketed as being cooler than skiing. So I was actually happier when it skiing made a bit of a comeback, because it was like people were like, "Oh, you're doing snowboarding because it's," and I was like, "No, it's because I enjoy it." So that there is these people that do things because it's on trend, and I can't be bothered with that. But I still think even now, Esk8 is still quite left of centre. So I don't think we're ever going to have to be troubled by being too mainstream.
Yeah. 2 more to go, and then you are free to run away. 49. New Esk8 company appears called OMW boards. That stands for On My Way boards. Now, the reason they're so interesting is they give you different options in how you make your carbon fiber deck, I believe. So, like wheelbase, how flexible, which is very different. We don't often get the choice of how flexible you want your deck to be. And I just think it's good to see a new brand, especially when we're losing old brands. And likewise, we've talked about having the options like this for years and years. So they're one to watch, and they've been appearing on a few YouTube channels.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because like I know that the pivot from Propel built in some vibration damping material into their one.
Yeah.
And I know that some other skateboard companies, you can spec, bamboo decks that have got, 5-layer or 7-layer. But to have that differentiation within carbon fiber is quite different, isn't it?
And also, like, it's also a thing for people's rider weight. So if you're a heavier rider, you can have a more reinforced board. If you're a lighter rider, you can have a less reinforced board. And likewise, if you want a more flexible deck, a more stable one. And I think that's just really cool to see, because we don't often get options like that.
No, and on that, just on that subject, I guess it would be really good to see people put in the box like different bushings and stuff like that, so that you're not then having to buy and ship out for all the money it would cost to just have those multiple options, so you can tweak things straight from the get-go rather than having to send across, especially when the Trump have been doing that for years. Yes, indeed they have. That's
Tell
true,
me about
Tom.
it. I mean, I've been using a lot of Riptide bushings and pivot cups this year, and it's good to see Esk8.shop selling those, because usually you have to ship it from the US, and it's like, how much just for shipping these tiny little things? And does it really need to be that difficult? You'd think skate shops would have things like that, but custom bushings and pivot cups. So what can you expect?
Yeah, and the different shapes and stuff, they don't always fit, so you end up buying stuff and you think, oh, it's not working at all.
Mm-hmm. All right, and on for the last one, number 50. SK Wheel Tees with upcoming campaign. The first set of what appears to be decent mountain skates, e-mountain skates. So we talked about electric roller skates. These are off-road ones, and they have this really weird kind of pivoting front, almost bicycle fork. So it's like, in theory, it's more carvy, and it's got a huge wheelbase. I think it's something like 35 inches. So huge electric, roller skates. And they'll be one to watch when their Kickstarter crowdfunding thing eventually launches. But wow, random as hell, like proper pneumatic off-road wheels for skates.
I can't wait for Michael Terry to make 80-inch versions.
Yeah. But I think it's been a very interesting year, and I like I said, so many different models. It's hard to keep up, but we've lost a few companies along the way, sadly.
Yeah, but and also we've had Esk8 Con, which is gathered a lot of interest, and that's, I guess, going to grow and come back. So thank you so much for your list and for all your research and stuff. And next year, we reckon the next big innovation is going to be flat cap helmets, I think, after tonight's show.
Maybe so. I mean, it's always interesting to imagine what's the future of Esk8. We've done this for 3 years in a row now, and I mean, there's all this stuff about remotes, like touch screens. Do we need touch screens on remotes and full color displays? And it's becoming very kind of iPhone-esque, these remotes. And you wonder,
I just need one I can see the
help.
bloody battery rating on, because I've got so much shit on my display that I'm not really caring about, because I don't really look at the speedo as such, you know what I mean? And all the other bits and bobs about how much volts it's about,
Okay, I like this.
how much battery have I got?
It's a very good one, Tom. That would be a great
Hard
idea.
edition.
Who would we include? I mean, who's on your list?
What's that?
Who's on your list for the Esk8 UK trading card edition?
Oh, well, I know we should make a list. We should have Suki on there, and we should have like a reveal side where she shows her actual face. I think we should do an actual, do a voting on that and see whether people would go for that. Loads of gimmicks instead of good products. It's a bit of bah humbug there, Jan. There's been a lot of good products as well, but there has been some gimmicks on there. You're quite right. There's some nonsense out there, and there's been some blooming solid products out there. Some really interesting stuff.
Maybe next year we will see eventually these new swappable battery designs and these solid state batteries that everyone keeps going on about. Because if anything's going to help us most with these electric skateboards, it's these solid state kind of deck batteries. I mean, batteries built into the actual deck is a cool concept.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, we shall see you next year. How weird does it feel to say that?
Absolutely. And as we always say, and a Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year. Okay, cheers, Suki. Cheers, James. See you next time.
Till next time.